Alright, so I'm just going to have to ask you guys to bear with me a little bit here. I've never done anything like this before, but I think it's going to be pretty cool. So a couple of weeks ago, I 100% completed a pretty intriguing little indie game called Perfect Vermin, my experience with which was a pretty interesting saga. So obviously, as with every game I complete, I wanted to cover it in a video. The problem is, the whole process only took a couple of hours, meaning the game really wouldn't be all that suited to my regular format. I've been wanting to experiment with more short form content, so I thought about doing that, but then I had a better idea. Why not combine it with a couple of other similar games that I've been wanting to play for a while and kill 3 metaphorical birds with 1 metaphorical stone? That's why today we're going to be doing whatever the video essay equivalent of an anthology is, as I give you my official take on Perfect Vermin, Iron Lung, and Buckshot Roulette. 3 short games about metal and blood. Also, before we get started, I don't typically do this, but since my content is usually pretty tame, I thought I should probably give a brief disclaimer. We are going to be covering horror titles, so content warning for blood, obviously, gore, mild to moderate body horror, and I guess themes of self-harm. I mean, one of the games is about shooting yourself in the mouth, so. In Perfect Vermin, you play as a person with anger issues, a fact that is hilariously revealed to you when you left-click to open your first door and instead smashed it into about 50 pieces with a comedically large sledgehammer. From there, an entire office building is open to be used as your own personal rage room. Pretty much everything you see around you can be demolished in what is a delightfully satisfying manner, collapsing into pieces that just kind of crumble to the floor defeated. This will continue until eventually you'll stumble across a piece of furniture that doesn't seem to belong where it is, a chair in the middle of the floor, 2 refrigerators in the break room, and you'll quickly discover that instead of the normal crumbling routine, these objects violently explode into chunks of blood and viscera. As indicated by the counter in the upper left, your goal on each level is to track down and destroy all of these vermin. Upon doing so, you'll be lightly jump scared by this mildly exasperated looking reporter fellow, who will emphatically insist you make your way to the elevator and continue to the next floor. This cycle will rinse and repeat several times as you explore different floors of the building, with the news anchor gradually deteriorating every time he shows up on screen, until, towards the end, he's morphed into a pile of undulating flesh and sores no longer meaningfully recognizable as human. The newscaster isn't the only thing deteriorating either. As you progress, the geometry of the building becomes uncooperative, with entire floors turning upside down or on their side until eventually it becomes impossible to exterminate everything before the time runs out. At the end of the game, you find yourself in a doctor's office. Long story short, this game is like a metaphor for cancer, with the player acting as a metaphor for cancer treatment, attempting to single out the anomalous cells and being both ultimately unsuccessful and wreaking havoc on the rest of the body in the process. I would describe this title as a sort of a dark comedy. The tone it strikes is really unique in that it pretty much recreates the feeling you get when somebody cracks a joke about a dead relative and you aren't sure if you're supposed to laugh or not. I thoroughly enjoyed it though. The mechanics are unique and the whole thing is executed pretty well. Plus the entire campaign can be finished in about a half hour, so it really doesn't have time to overstay its welcome. My only real complaint is that once the newscaster pops up for the first time, they make you play through like half of the rest of the game in the upper left corner of the screen, something I found particularly agitating for reasons we'll discuss shortly. I understand the artistic value of keeping the newscaster visible at all times, and they even do something really cool with the idea when they make you play through 2 stages at once near the end. The rest of the time though, it just kind of damages the ambiance in my opinion and makes it kind of hard to see. After you finish the main story, you'll still need to clean up several achievements, and I was very pleased with the variety offered in Perfect Vermin. Destroying 200 total objects, turning off every light switch in the game, or getting the newscaster to call you dense are all short and easy, but they let you feel like you actually did something to earn your Steam ribbon. The only thing on the list I would consider kind of difficult is making the jump into this secret room in the last level, which you need to do both for an independent achievement and if you hope to beat the game fast enough to unlock the story of a lifetime. Even this can be done pretty easily though if you know the right setup beforehand, so it's not that big a deal. All in all, I really enjoyed my 2.5 hours or so with Perfect Vermin. It wasn't life-changing or anything, but for a free title you can easily complete in a single session, it was shockingly memorable, and I'm proud to have it on my list of 100% completed games. Which is why it really sucks you might not be able to play it yourself. Yeah, so I've actually wanted to play this game for a couple of years now, but I haven't been able to because for some inexplicable reason, the game won't run on my computer. You can boot it up just fine, but it mysteriously crashes in exactly 60 seconds. Apparently this is a pretty common issue, and the developer knows about it, but it's pretty clear they have no intention of trying to fix it, so hopefully you get luckier than I did. The only reason I was even able to complete it now is because I recently rebuilt my old PC into a smaller form factor and I've been using it for like LANs and stuff, and for some reason it runs just fine on there. So yeah, this is actually how I played the entire game. Fortunately, I had no such issues with our next game, Iron Lung. Iron Lung is probably the most well-known game on this lineup, and for a very good reason. I mean, it's currently being developed into a feature-length film written and starring Markiplier of all people, and very deservingly so. If you aren't already familiar with it for some reason though, I would definitely recommend checking it out for yourself and coming back here later. This game's so short that this is going to be basically full spoilers, and beyond that, this is really just one of those titles that benefits massively from going in totally blind. Anyway, for those who don't care, Iron Lung takes place in a universe devastated by an event known by its survivors as the Quiet Rapture, during which every habitable planet and star mysteriously and unexpectedly disappeared, leaving only a handful of remaining humans stranded on spacefaring vessels. You play as a convicted criminal sentenced to pilot one of humanity's only remaining submarines through an anomalous ocean of blood discovered on a distant moon. Since the submarine was not meant for this depth, the front window has to be sealed, leaving your only navigational tools as a front-facing camera, a panel of physical coordinates, and a map. The story of this game is, to put it mildly, very intriguing. I'm obviously extremely excited for the movie to finally release, but after that, I need this game adapted into at least 4 full-length novels because the quality of the writing and some of its exposition is absolutely unbelievable. A universe of barren moons ghostlit by the light of vanished stars is by far the coolest way I have ever heard the setting of a game described. Alright, allow me to just indulge myself a little bit here and read you a brief excerpt from the end of the game. The stars shine pale as bone. The moon is a lifeless corpse, its ocean a gaping wound. The universe, what's left of it, is dying. Look me dead in my eyes and tell me you have ever heard anything cooler than that. I could spend the entire rest of my life writing and never in my wildest dreams have any hope of producing a single sentence that goes as hard as that quote. It is 4 in the morning. There's nothing on this phone, I have it memorized. The actual gameplay is exceedingly simple. Basically, all you have to do is use the directional arrow keys to navigate to predetermined coordinates and take pictures of the anomalies. Navigating through tight corridors and plotting points on the map does cause just enough neuron activation to feel satisfying, and it's actually a pretty unique mechanic, but this isn't high-level stuff. What really sells the game is the incredible atmosphere it cultivates. Iron Lung does an amazing job of conveying the confinement and isolation of your desperate situation, and there are several scripted events that notably ratchet up the tension for first-time players. On the achievement front though, there's really not much to report if I'm being honest. There are only a couple that you don't get through the process of completing the story, and even those can easily be routed into a single playthrough if you know what you're doing, which I think is definitely a positive in this case. They do a great job of encapsulating the full experience though, which is really all I need out of achievements for a game like this. Hour and a half well spent, IMO, and I'm glad to add this to my list of 100% completed games. If you're looking for something with a bit more in the gameplay department though, you'll probably have better luck with our last game, Buckshot Roulette. While Perfect Vermin was definitely what initially inspired me to consider making this video, Buckshot Roulette is what really made all of the pieces click into place for me. You see, I've been looking to play this game for months, diligently waiting for it to release on Steam, something which just happened like 2 days ago as of writing the script. According to Exophase, 0 people have 100% completed this game, which I know isn't true because I've 100% completed this game as tracked by Exophase, so this number is just inaccurate, but I'm still going to take it to mean that I am the first person to do this and nobody can convince me otherwise. Anyway, it's not really clear who or what exactly you play as in Buckshot Roulette, but what is clear is that this is Russian roulette with a 12-gauge shotgun. Someplace above an underground nightclub, you find yourself sat across from the enigmatic dealer, a British orthodontist who has predictably been forced to turn to illegal gambling just to keep the lights on. Presumably. The rules of the game are simple. The shotgun on the table is loaded with a random assortment of blanks and live rounds, and you each take turns shooting it at either yourself or the other person. If you hit yourself with a blank, you get to go again, and if you find yourself hit with a live round, you lose 1 health point. Your goal is to survive 3 total rounds before you're able to make off with a cool $50,000 for your trouble. Undeniably, a huge part of this game's appeal is its visual style. Its aesthetic is really unique in a way that's hard to put your finger on, but it looks awesome. Everything from the design of the dealer to the satisfying if incredibly impractical machinery contribute to building a really enjoyable environment, one that is only slightly ruined for me by the fact that you sit with your back to a door you never bothered to close. As the rounds progress, eventually you each start being given a random amount of randomly selected items you can use each turn. These do things like restore your health, double the damage of your next shot, skip the next person's turn, reveal what's currently in the chamber, switch what's currently in the chamber, and a couple more options that introduce quite a bit more strategizing and raise the stakes each turn. Ultimately, this is a title about using game theory to determine what is statistically most likely to have an advantageous outcome for yourself, and then letting luck decide the rest. It's pretty fun. It's also probably the shortest campaign in the lineup, taking only about 20 minutes to escape with your money depending on your RNG. Now, since I was literally playing on release day, I obviously didn't know exactly what to expect from the achievement list, but given the short length of the main story, I anticipated spending a similar amount of time to the previous 2 titles in order to nab everything. That's not how it played out. The majority of the challenges in Buckshot Roulette are pretty quick and easy, things like seeing a loaded round in the chamber and then doubling the damage and shooting yourself in the face. Wholesome fun for the whole family. Using every item in a single turn took a while because it just involves so much RNG, but otherwise you can knock these out really quickly, which is great because you should be saving all the time you possibly can for Double or Nothing. Yeah, so Double or Nothing is basically an endless mode you unlock after finishing the story, where every 3 rounds you get the opportunity to either cash out or risk it all to potentially double your money. Essentially, you play for a high score. This is awesome, right? Great for replayability, until you realize that if you want this game's coveted Steam ribbon, you're going to have to earn $1 million in this mode twice. In essence, this equates to winning 36 consecutive rounds, give or take, and this is not a small task. Strategizing in this game is not all that difficult. It's not particularly hard to know what you should do in any given situation, but with so many elements of each match being determined by RNG, it's unavoidable that your fate is frequently decided by a coin toss. Having such a long run reset by unavoidable random chance is always going to be frustrating, and given that I wasn't expecting this going in, I was definitely a bit miffed when I started to piece together just how long this was going to take. I have no problem with achievements that involve elements of luck, but having them so disproportionately long compared to everything else on the list is definitely a choice, and having you do the exact same challenge twice for no discernible reason borders on questionable design. This achievement list is not for everybody, but ultimately, as is often the case with me, I ended up settling into the process, and looking back, I had a pretty decent time at the table. What can I say? I enjoy video games. It took me almost 14 hours to 100% Buckshot Roulette, which is absolutely insane for a game with a 20-minute campaign, and 95% of that playtime was just doing the same thing over and over again. At the end of the day though, I definitely feel a sense of accomplishment after finishing this one, like I overcame a real challenge, which is something I can't always say about the games I complete. I'm genuinely proud to be able to display this on my list of 100% completed games, and I'll definitely be coming back when the multiplayer mode drops. Alright, so what do we think, format-wise, I mean? Personally, I think it worked out really well. Seriously though, if ever there was a time to leave a comment down below, I feel like it would be now. I'd love to hear what you think about the video, the games, what was your favorite title in the lineup, have you ever played any of these before? Be sure to let me know. Predictably, you can find all of my socials linked down in the description below, along with any of the music that I may have used in this video. I actually feel productive for once. Hopefully I can channel this energy into some real output, and if so, I hope to see you there. Thanks for watching.